The reverse bucket list. Welcome back to Year of Profit. I'm your host. Today's episode is going to feel a little more personal than usual, because before we talk about building more, I want to talk about something we almost never stop long enough to recognize, what we've already built. You know, if I look back over my life honestly, not the highlight reel, not the polished version, the real version. There were times I had no idea where things were going, times when the future felt uncertain, times when progress felt invisible. But if I draw a line from where I started to where I'm sitting right now behind this microphone, everything I've done, every decision, every risk, every late night, every mistake has led here. The podcasts, the books, the conversations, the lessons learned the hard way, the moments when quitting would have been easier. None of that happened overnight. None of it came from some perfectly planned roadmap. It came from movement. It came from trying. It came from staying in the game long enough for momentum to build. And here's something I've realized recently. Most of us spend our lives staring at the horizon, chasing the next version of ourselves, that we forget to turn around and look at the miles we've already walked. Because if you really stop and think about it, everything you've done up to this exact moment, every job, every relationship, every failure, every win, every lesson you didn't even realize you were learning, it all built the version of you that exists right now. You are not standing at the beginning. You are standing in the middle of a story that's already full of proof. And today, we're going to talk about something that might change the way you see your entire life. Today's episode is called The Reverse Bucket List. Instead of obsessing over what's next, we're going to celebrate what already happened, because success isn't just measured by what you chase. Sometimes it's measured by what you've already survived. Why we never feel enough. We live in a world that moves the finish line every time you get close to it. You get the job. Now you need the promotion. You get the promotion. Now you need more income. You build stability. Now you want freedom. You get freedom. Now you want purpose. There is always another rung on the ladder. And ladders are useful. They help us climb. But if you never stop climbing long enough to look down, you'll swear you haven't moved at all. That's the trap. That quiet, nagging feeling that says you should be further by now. Even when you've already done things your younger self would have thought were impossible. Think about the version of you from 10 years ago. What did that person want? What did that person fear? What would they think if they could see you today? Because I promise you, there are things in your life right now that used to live on your someday list, and they quietly became normal. There's something dangerous about gradual improvement. It's so slow you don't notice it. It's like watching your own hair grow. You never see it happening, but one day someone else points it out. Your confidence grew quietly. Your knowledge grew quietly. Your resilience grew quietly. You adapted to things that once overwhelmed you. You survived days you thought would break you. And because it didn't come with fireworks, you dismissed it. Very few people ever pause long enough to audit their own life. We audit finances, we audit businesses, we audit time, but we almost never audit progress. That's what the reverse bucket list forces you to do. It's not about ego, it's about accuracy. It's about looking at your life like an investor reviewing returns. Because here's the truth. If you had invested $1 of effort into yourself every single day, you are sitting on compounded growth right now, whether you realize it or not. There are things in your past that once felt like setbacks, that were actually training, jobs you hated, that taught you discipline, moments you failed, that built resilience, times you were lost, that forced you to find direction. We have a tendency to label parts of our life as wasted time, but wasted time still shapes you. It still teaches you. It still builds experience, and experience is one of the most valuable currencies you will ever hold. If you removed every mistake you ever made, you wouldn't recognize the person you are today. Today isn't about slowing your ambition. It's about strengthening it by showing yourself the evidence that you already know how to build. Today, we're talking about something most people never do. We're going to talk about stopping long enough to realize you've already done more than you think. Today's episode is called The Reverse Bucket List. Instead of writing down everything you want to do before you die, We're going to write down everything you've already accomplished. And I promise you, if you do this exercise honestly, it will change how you see your life. We live in a culture that rewards what's next. Next goal, next milestone, next paycheck, next level. Nobody hands out trophies for you made it through a rough year, you kept your family together, you didn't quit. Instead, we're trained to feel behind, even when we're actually ahead. Think about this. At 18, we want freedom. At 25, we want stability. At 35, we want more time. At 45, we want less stress. At 55, we want our health back. At 65, we want years we can't get again. We spend our entire lives chasing the next bucket, never noticing how many we've already filled. That's where the reverse bucket list comes in. It forces you to ask, what have I already survived, built, created, and experienced? What is a reverse bucket list? A reverse bucket list is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of listing dreams, you list completed realities, examples, places you've traveled, skills you've learned, fears you overcame, relationships you built, goals you achieved, even small ones. This is not bragging. This is inventory. If profit is measured gain, then your life has already produced returns. Most people just never audit them. Your brain is wired to focus on what's missing. It's a survival mechanism. Ancient humans didn't survive by being grateful. They survived by noticing danger. Today, that wiring makes you feel like you're always behind, even when you're doing great. The reverse bucket list interrupts that bias. It gives your brain proof, I have grown, I have progressed, I have momentum. Progress builds confidence. Confidence builds action. Action builds result. When I first did this exercise, I thought I hadn't done much. Then I started writing, started a podcast, kept it going, interviewed incredible people, published books, built something from nothing, learned skills I didn't have before. Suddenly, the narrative changed. I wasn't behind, I was building. Segment 5, small wins count more than big moments. Here's a mistake people make. They only count huge achievements, major milestones, big money, but life is built from small wins. Examples, you paid off a debt, you learned to speak up, you survived a toxic job, you became more disciplined. Those count. In fact, they matter more than flashy success because small wins are repeatable. How to build your reverse bucket list. Grab a notebook, divide it into categories: career, personal, financial, health, relationships, adventure. Then start listing. No judgment, no comparison, just facts. Ask yourself, what have I learned? What have I built? What have I endured? What have I finished? Aim for 50 items. Most people struggle to get 10, then suddenly hit 60. Once you see your progress, something powerful happens. You stop chasing validation. You start operating from evidence. You become less desperate, more confident, more patient, because you realize you've already proven you can grow. This list becomes a psychological anchor. When doubt hits, you read it and remember you are not starting from zero. Compounding works because of what's already there. Life works the same way. Skills compound, relationships compound, reputation compounds, experience compounds. Your reverse bucket list is your life portfolio and it's already producing returns. Here's your challenge this week. Create your reverse bucket list. Not mentally, physically. Write it down. And when you do, I want you to sit with it, because you might discover something surprising. You are further ahead than you think. You have more proof than doubt. And the next level of your life doesn't start with chasing more. It starts with respecting what you've already built. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not behind. And remember, profit isn't always measured in dollars. Sometimes it's measured in distance traveled. Before we end today, I want you to do something with me. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now, wherever you are, if you can safely do it, take a breath. And just for a moment, stop thinking about where you're going. Stop thinking about what you still haven't done. Stop thinking about the goals that still sit unfinished. And instead, I want you to look backwards, because we don't do that very often. We live our lives staring at a horizon that keeps moving. We chase the next version of ourselves so aggressively that we forget to acknowledge the distance we've already travelled. But here's the truth. You did not arrive at this exact moment in your life by accident. You are sitting in a position that was built decision by decision, day by day, Sometimes step forward, sometimes step back, sometimes crawling, sometimes sprinting, but always moving. Everything you've survived, everything you've learned, everything you've endured when it would have been easier to quit, it all counts. Even the seasons you thought were wasted, even the years that didn't look impressive on paper. Because those years built you, those years hardened you, those years taught you things success never could. There are moments in your past that felt small at the time, but they're turning points. The day you decided not to give up, the day you tried something new even though you were nervous, the day you kept your word, the day you showed up tired, the day you pushed through fear. Those don't get trophies, they don't get applause, but they stack quietly, relentlessly. They stack into the person you are now. And if you never stop long enough to acknowledge that, you will spend your entire life believing you're behind, when the reality is you have been building this entire time. There is a version of you from years ago that would look at your life right now and see proof of progress, proof of growth, proof that you didn't stay stuck. Even if your life isn't perfect, even if you still have goals, even if you still have miles to go, you are not where you were, and that matters more than you think. The reverse bucket list is not about ego. It's about truth. It's about accuracy. It's about correcting the lie that says you haven't done enough. Because if you actually sit down and you start writing the places you've been, the things you've learned, the fears you've faced, the problems you've solved, the responsibilities you've carried, the storms you've survived, you will hit a moment where you stop writing and you just sit there, because you'll realize something. You've done more than you gave yourself credit for. You've carried more than you remembered. You've built more than you acknowledged. And that realization changes the way you move forward, because confidence that comes from evidence is stronger than motivation that comes from hype. Motivation fades. Evidence stays. Your reverse bucket list becomes proof that you can grow, proof that you can adapt, proof that you can start something and keep going, proof that you have momentum. And once you see that momentum, you stop chasing success from a place of desperation. You start building from a place of certainty. You're not guessing anymore. You have receipts, you have history, you have a track record. You are not starting at zero. You never were. And here's something I want you to remember long after this episode ends. Your life is not measured only by what you achieve next. It is also measured by what you have already overcome. Some of the most important victories in your life will never be visible to anyone else. The battles no one saw, the discipline no one applauded, the nights you kept going when nobody was watching. Those count. They always counted. They always will. We live in a world obsessed with the next milestone. But there is power in pausing long enough to say, I've come a long way. Not in arrogance, in respect. Respect for the effort, respect for the time, respect for the fact that you stayed in the game. Because staying in the game is the only way anything compounds. And everything meaningful in life compounds. Skills compound, confidence compounds, knowledge compounds, relationships compound, effort compounds, and so does resilience. What you've already built is not small. It's your foundation, and foundations don't get celebrated enough, but nothing stands without them. So here's what I want you to do after this episode. Tonight or tomorrow morning, sit down, grab a notebook, and start writing your reverse bucket list. Don't filter it. Don't judge it. Don't compare it. Just write. Write the big things. Write the small things. Write the moments you almost forgot. Write until you surprise yourself. Then when you're done, I want you to read it slowly. Not like a checklist, like a story, because that list is evidence that your life has already produced returns. And once you see that clearly, something shifts. Pressure turns into patience. Doubt turns into direction. And suddenly, the future doesn't feel like a race you're losing. It feels like a continuation of something you're already building. You are not behind. You are in progress. And progress is profit. This has been Year of Profit. If this episode hit you in the right place, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they've already come further than they think. And remember, sometimes the most powerful move you can make is not chasing the next milestone. It's turning around and honouring the miles you've already walked. I'll see you next time.